Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here is your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning, or welcome back to Faith in Our Hometown, our weekly conversation about issues affecting us as people of the greater Joplin area and issues of faith as we encounter them in life. This morning, I have some very special guests from over in Carthage. Many of you may or may not know, but we have a large Vietnamese Catholic community over in Carthage that every year hosts a huge gathering. And this coming weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, is the annual Marian Days. And so these are two priests from that community, Father Bernie Dang and Father Paul Tai Tran, both of the Congregation of the Mother of Our Redeemer. And they're here to talk to us a little bit about Marian Days. We'll give everybody a little bit of a history of that and why, if you're looking for something to do next weekend, you might come to Carthage along with several of their other Vietnamese friends. But we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Don't go away, and we'll be right back to talk about the annual Marian Days in Carthage.
Once I quit playing football, I still kept up with the eating, the amount of calories I wasn't exercising, so the weight started adding on. Dr. Lou is very knowledgeable in the work he does. He also has a program set up that has support systems in place for you. You'll go through the seminar at first. He'll give you the different examples of surgeries you can have to see which one works best with you. He will also sit down with you and discuss the options, what he feels, but he'll work with you the entire time. Mercy has their gastric bypass program here. They have all kinds of resources and support systems in place. They want to see you succeed, and they're here to help you the entire time, even after the surgery.
Well, thanks for joining us again for another Sunday morning. As I mentioned before the break, my guests this morning are two of my Vietnamese brothers, if you will, from over in Carthage. This is Father Bernie and Father Paul, who are with us from the Congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer. And so you guys host annual Marian Days every year. So for how many years have you been doing Marian Days?
We started in 1977, and this year marks 40th.
So this is the 40th anniversary, so the big banner year. So how did Marian Days come about? How did you guys start hosting this huge festival in Carthage, Missouri? And literally, if you've never been to Carthage on that weekend, there are thousands of Vietnamese that come from across the United States to come and to visit and to kind of, it's like almost like a homecoming, even though they're not coming home to Carthage, but they're kind of coming home to all their relatives and friends in a bit of a celebration. How did it come to be in Carthage?
Well, to tell you the truth, that we never thought the Marian Day is big as now. You know,
you didn't think it was going to, you thought it started small.
Started small, just gather people around this area to give thanks to God for all the gifts that we've been received, especially the gift that we left Vietnam and arrived in America safely.
Yeah, it's true, because both of us came in late. We weren't there as the first one started, because I joined in 1986. Yeah. So I heard people say that the first gathering was just to gather other Vietnamese people here to come together to have something to celebrate, to be together, because after they left our country and kind of like scatter.
Well, and many of them had to leave the country, correct? Yes. You know, after the fall of Saigon. And so many of them came here as refugees and kind of resettled here in the area. Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier in the break about, the reason for the resettlement was that they got an invitation from then the Bishop of Southern Missouri that said, I've got an empty college sitting over here with a bunch of buildings that the oblates of Mary Immaculate used to live in, and they're not using it anymore, and if you guys need a home, why don't you come settle in Carthage? Because otherwise, Carthage would not have been a big drawing card, if you will. True, yes. I'm sure nobody ever heard about, Carthage and Saigon, But you guys came here by that invitation, and you reestablished your own community, a religious community of men who, are under the patronage and work at honoring, the Mother of Jesus, okay? Yes. Mother of our Redeemer, with your new call letters and your name. And in that context, you just that first year or the first few years after you were here, just invited whoever was available to come for a reunion.
Yes.
And now look at it, because this thing is huge. Guess at how many, I mean, of course everybody teases about the number. I asked you how many people come and you said we don't have any idea.
Well, the paper says 60 to 70,000, but I don't know. I just guess 30,000 is a lot already, yeah.
30,000 is a lot of people. But if you've never been to Marian Days, folks, I'm telling you, you ought to come over and check it out. Because, so what happens at Marian Days? Why don't you just give everybody a little snapshot of what occurs at Marian Days?
Yeah. For us, our main focus is on the spiritual side first, because we kind of, like 3 days, like we have conferences, masses, and we have like themes every year, so people can, after the year of working, they can come here to refresh their soul, their spirit, so they can have the energy to go on with their life. Another year come around. That's our purpose at the beginning.
Okay, so some of it's renewal, faith. Okay, so that would be one thing, and that might not appeal. That might not appeal to anybody who may not be Catholic. You know, of our viewers who might not be Catholic. But for us, it's for the Vietnamese Catholics who come from around the country. It's kind of like a retreat, if you will.
Yes.
So again, they have times of prayer and those things, but there's also conferences. I know you do things for the youth and some of those kinds of things. So what's the theme this year?
This year, the theme this year is do whatever he tells you.
Okay, so taking it from the scriptures. Okay, so when the story at the wedding at Cana, all right, when the mother of Jesus, looks at he goes, "Woman, how does this concern me?" And then she says, "Just do whatever he tells you." And then he changes the water into wine, and that's the story. So the emphasis here is going to be do whatever he tells you. So like, how would you break that out for, like, say, the adults and the youth and those things?
Yes, and this year is also marks 100th anniversary of Our Lady of Fatima.
Right,
with the
exactly.
3 children, and she gave the 3 children with 3 messages, to penance and rosary,
right?
and
pray the rosary,
repent,
and
honor her Immaculate Heart.
Yep.
Praying for the peace of the world.
Yeah.
So in that direction, we want everybody to listen to God, listen to the message that Mary wants all of us to go out and then, to pray for peace of the world.
It's interesting, but a lot of times people don't understand Catholics' devotion to the Blessed Mother.
Yes.
And probably, I mean, we're not the only Christians who honor the Blessed Mother, obviously, and all Christians know that, of course, she's mentioned in the scriptures, okay, but we probably, of all the different Christians, give her the most attention, and obviously your communities are even dedicated to her name and working for her. When you mention something like Fatima, most of our listeners are not going to understand that, again, 100 years ago in Portugal, not in Vietnam, but in Portugal, Mary appeared to 3 children. And she had, several appearances, and basically was trying to say to them, do penance and pray and to do these things, and just encouraging people to be holy. And especially when that was a time when the kids were even threatened and jailed at one point in time, that they had to recant their stories, and they just wouldn't do it because they had this, in some ways, a supernatural vision of Mary appearing to them and telling them to to pray and to honor her son Jesus, which is again a great theme for do whatever he tells you, because we always look at Mary and say it points right back to Jesus. She's always pointing us to Jesus, and so that's why we honor her so much. We consider her the first and the best disciple. So we're going to have these thousands of Vietnamese Catholics that are coming from around the country, and they're going to come for this spiritual renewal. But it's not just always just spiritual stuff. Okay.
Correct.
So what else you got going on there?
I think the attendance growing because besides the spiritual thing is that the family reunion, because it's so by divine providence that we situate right in the middle of the United States. So it's a chance for all the relatives from around the states to come meet at the on one weekend, because if leave them alone, they don't see each other because
so
they can't travel that far.
Some on the East Coast, some on the West Coast, they can meet right here in Carthage.
Yes, that's how it started. Yeah, that's another reason why they come and why people attend it so much, and we feed off on that, and we feed them spiritually when they come for like the culture and other stuff. But we use that opportunity to feed them spiritually.
Yeah, because I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I of course go for the prayers and all those kinds of things. And again, people say, well, how, you don't know Vietnamese. Why can you go? Well, most of it is because your language is very musical. So even if I don't know what I'm saying, I know what I'm saying because it's the Mass, okay?
Yes.
If we're doing Mass, I know exactly what you're saying,
Yes.
even if I don't know what all the words mean.
Yes.
But I can always sing along with you because I've been there enough times.
Yes.
I know how to sing the responses, so I can just, come out and do my thing because I know what's going on there. But I do think that even if, even if somebody loves music, for example, I think that if they just came and listened, and just sat and listened to the whole congregation as the music just could kind of wash over them and do their thing, I just think it's so beautiful and it's peaceful, even if they might not even understand the language of what's going on. Now, some of the prayers and everything, of course, are in English too.
Yes.
But a lot of the celebration, of course, is in Vietnamese. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, musical, just so peaceful. And I love the music as it just kind of washes over everybody, especially in the evening when we're having the big Mass out there and the sun goes down, it gets a little cooler. And all of a sudden, here are these thousands and thousands of people that are actually just all praying together at that point in time. I think it's very powerful. And I think that the people of Carthage, I'm just going to speak now because I'm also the pastor of St. Anne's in Carthage, okay, one of my congregations. And I think that the people of Carthage, not just the Catholics, but really the whole city, in a lot of ways, has just been impressed by the prayerfulness if they've managed to come along one of those celebrations. But I love the celebrating, but I'm going to tell you what the other thing is the food. I love eating the food of different cultures. And what I chuckle at is like, there'll be hamburger stands to feed everybody that wants American food, and then there are the food stands that sell, like for example, pho, which is a Vietnamese noodle soup. And if you've never had it, I'm just going to suggest. I keep saying to all of our Vietnamese families, when is somebody going to open up a pho restaurant? Just open one up, and they say, oh, we're just not sure we could do it because they've got all kinds of quote, generic Chinese restaurants, but a lot of that food's not even Vietnamese. But I love going for the food because I just think it's phenomenal. What's your favorite food at Marian Days?
I mean, all of it.
All of it. Yeah, that was such a cop-out. Yeah, but...
Actually, it's the seafood that because from this region, we don't get seafood that much, but during Marian Days, all those...
You get a lot of it?
Yes, all those things, they bring up seafood, so those... It's funny how... It's the food that attract the American people in, and when they come for the food, they also find out the culture of the Vietnamese. If it's not for the food, I don't think they will come and they will not find out the culture of Vietnamese culture and how we celebrate spiritually. I guess that's one way that I think of it because of the food, and God attract the American people to find out how we celebrate our faith and together and beginning to embrace us. Yes.
Nowadays, boba attract people.
Yeah.
The boba tea, yeah.
The boba tea, there you go. So you got the bubble tea and you can do some of those things. Yes. Well, we're sitting here this morning talking with two of the priests from the congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer, which is the Vietnamese Catholic community that sits right in the middle of Carthage at the old college in the middle of town. And we're talking a little bit about the 40th anniversary of the 40th Marian Days that is going to be going on next weekend. So we're going to talk a little bit. We just got talking a little bit about culture here, so we're going to pick up there when we pick up after the break. But this is Faith in Our Hometown. We're going to take a short break. Please don't go away. Stick around. We will be right back.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
So thanks for joining us again for this Sunday morning of Faith in Our Hometown. Our guests this morning are two of my Vietnamese Catholic brothers, priests from the congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer, right there in Carthage. We've been talking about Marian Days, and right before the break we started talking about culture, and I was talking about the food, and you said, well, that's one of the ways that sometimes people will come. They'll come for the food, and that's the way they're introduced to the Vietnamese culture. Now, that's one of the reasons why we do this show, is because we really want people of the different cultures talking to each other. In terms of religion, in terms of faith, but also in terms of the other ways that the culture speaks.
It's cultural too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you think? I mean, if you were to characterize your culture for our viewers this morning, what would you say are some of the things that are really the marks of you all as a culture? Because I've got my own ideas, but I'm interested in what you guys would say.
Well, I saw a lot of people came and they just love the ladies' long dress.
Oh, okay, so in other words,
Yeah,
the dress.
the dress.
Okay, so the dress is one thing, and yes, the dresses are beautiful. Usually very long. They're very they're very slenderizing too. I mean, you know, it's just like, so some of our folks in our culture might like that too, in terms of the way that they're very slenderizing, but they're beautiful.
Yes.
Sometimes wear the headdresses, sometimes not, just depending. But again, yes, the dress is beautiful. What else would you say typifies your culture?
Well, our culture, I mean, the Vietnamese people are very spiritually. I mean, that's the first thing that get them going. I mean, they worry about their spiritual first, and they feed it from that.
Yeah.
Because that's why we attract a lot of people, because here we have both spiritually and they can, I mean, they live, during the year they separate the congregation, other congregation, they don't have a chance to celebrate the culture, because here we have both. So they come to, the old people come to, refresh their mind, and for the young to learn about, to catch up on to keep the culture going, not forgetting about it. So that's both going on.
I'm always amazed, and again, I think that your culture is, number one, it's very family oriented.
Yes.
Okay, sure. I mean, I just always get that. There's always respect for the grandmothers and the grandfathers. The elderly, you're treated with great respect.
Even
funny you mentioned
extended
that,
family too.
Yes. I mean, I'm always amazed at that. So say
it's
something.
funny that you mentioned about the elderly respect their grandparents, because the youth coming because they want to take their grandparents, because the parents and grandparents want to go and have no transportation, so the youth take them
the ones
here,
that bring them,
and they're beginning to embrace it too. We were having a sense that we're going to scare at Marian's one day. Marian Days one day is going to stop because the youth's not coming, but it's not true.
Right, I'm amazed at how many young people are there.
The percentage of the youth recently is
increased.
It's
going up. So you think there are actually more younger people there than there are the older people.
That's why Father Betty, the last couple of years when he in charge of the community, the organizing community, he came up with a program for the youth.
Right.
Since last year, you saw the big program for the youth over the Calvary Hill, so we're going to continue to start that, because we want to focus on the youth for the future more, because we kind of lost for them.
Well, and I think it's even great that that our Vietnamese youth, because we share a lot of them. I mean, some of them are over there some weekends, and they're at St. Peter's some weekends, and and those kinds of things. I think it's great that they are just grabbing hold and wanting to make sure that they don't lose the culture, as I think that that's very important. The same thing is true, I know, for our Hispanic families. It's just like, how do you have the joy of entering into this melting pot culture, which is always very important, because I think that's one of the things that makes the United States wonderful, is that all the cultures mix together and become one brand new culture. But I think that one of the things that's also very important is you don't want to lose your own culture in the midst of it. And I think that it's been really great for our Vietnamese youth, including the ones that live right here in Missouri, right here in Joplin and Carthage and Webb City and Carl Junction. I think it's so important that they can latch on to that culture. So I'm glad that that's part of what you're doing, is giving them an opportunity to appreciate their own culture that maybe they might have lost some of just by being born right here in the United States. And again, we don't want them, we certainly want them to be good citizens and part of the U.S. culture, but at the same time, it'd be great that we don't lose them in terms of their Vietnamese culture.
Also, we want them to integrate two cultures together, because we've been here long enough, 40 years, 45 years, so we want them to integrate the two within us. Like for Cardinal Law said, take the good from what you see and keep the good from what you brought here.
From what you brought, which is good.
And integrate both in,
Yeah, I know that we got some kids. I mean, I know at least there's a couple of them that always are talking about or thinking about the possibility of being priests.
Yes.
And I love the fact that they're kind of weighing both sides. They're thinking, maybe I ought to be a a religious order priest. Maybe I ought to be a CRM, a
Yeah.
Congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer. But then some are also saying, but we kind of like the diocese and the regular parish, you know, and so maybe think about being a parish priest too. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's a credit to both of us that we're doing things that are good enough that they want to be a part, or they'll consider being a part of both, rather than just going, oh, I don't like the one, I'm just going to go to the other. I think it's great that you know, that we've been able to attract that kind of attention and the attention of some of our young people to maybe perpetuate our, you know, the priesthood, if you will, for us in terms of doing this thing. I think it's wonderful, and I think that the strength that you put into some of that programming for the youth has paid off.
Yes.
You know, I'm just amazed at the kids, and you know, especially when we're praying, and you know, they will lead all the priests out, you know, and during the Mass to help give out communion and do all those things, and just the reverence and the way that they act and all those things. It's just amazing to me, absolutely amazing to me. So, do your own families come from Marian Days? Do you get to see some of your own family during Marian Days?
Yes, it's one of my highlights too. When I was young, just waiting for this opportunity to see my parents.
They'd all come.
up,
They'd all come to see you in Carthage. Yeah.
Yes.
So, how big is your family?
My family, I came from a family of 10 brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest, so
Same.
it's the same.
So you had 10 as well.
Yes.
Okay, so where are they all scattered to now?
All of mine in Texas, yeah.
Oh, so mostly in Texas. Okay.
Mine,
But they all make the trip up from Texas to be here with you during
Yes.
that week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine are in California.
And all of yours are in California.
Yeah.
So so they come in and they stay for the whole, what is it, 5 days, right?
Almost,
Yeah.
yes.
So Marian Day starts on what day?
Officially
August
on
the 3rd.
Thursday.
Okay, on Thursday. That's usually the night that I go, okay, because I got a lot of other stuff to do over the weekend. But Thursday night I love because Thursday night begins with a big Mass and a nice celebration. I get to come for a little food. And then there's also a lovely procession.
Yes, Eucharistic
A
procession.
Eucharistic procession, which is so
Thursday.
strange in our culture to, you know, to people in the United States. It's even strange for the Catholics, not just the non-Catholics, but it's even a little bit strange for the
Spain.
Yeah, that
France
originally
and
came from
Spain.
France and Spain to Vietnam with missionaries that went to
Missionaries,
Vietnam way back when. Okay.
18th
century.
In the 18th century. Okay, so the fun part about some of that is that when that procession comes, which is processions are big in other cultures. They're not really big in the U.S.
Okay.
You know, we do have a few things like parades, you know, and Thanksgiving Day parades and things like that, but most of those are very secular. We haven't really caught on with the idea of parades and stuff in the religious culture as much. But I'm always fascinated whenever I'm in that procession that first night, because and that one's just first around the grounds.
Yes, just in
you know,
the
just around the
ground.
grounds. But I'm amazed at the faith of you know, the again, especially the elderly. You know, when the procession comes through, just to see their fervor and their prayer and their passion as they pray.
So I love it when I see the thousands of candles lit, you know, in the night.
Oh yeah, because we light
Yeah.
candles. I mean, it's really gorgeous. And then we have the procession through the grounds. And basically, what happens? We pray at Mass. It's our Lord's Supper, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, you know, as the evening goes on, we give people a chance to reflect and pray on what just happened. So we take what we use, the bread
host,
from that celebration, and then we parade around, and we're asking basically God to bless everybody as that's there. It's kind of like the extension of what we just did at the Mass, at our celebration of the Lord's Supper. And then we take that and we ask God's blessing on all of us in a particular way. Well, again, it's done with candlelight, and it's done in the dark, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And again, the music is just ethereal, if you ask me.
Yes,
I just
after
love
that,
the procession.
we brought the monstrance inside the chapel, and people like do perpetual adoration
Right,
throughout the
and they
night.
just do it all throughout the night. You know, so 3 o'clock in the morning, you can go in there
Still
and you
there,
still
yeah.
see people praying and,
Yes.
you know, wishing God's spiritual renewal for themselves and their families. I mean, it's culturally, it's a beautiful thing, and we don't have much like that in the United States. So I love the fact I never got processions. You know, because I really didn't have a chance to go to Spain or to Colombia or those places where they do those things. And now, of course, when I've experienced it with you all at Marian Days, I'm like, now I get it. Now I understand. So that's a gift that you've all given me. You know, and I've been a priest for 30 years, but I mean, when I moved to Carthage, when I moved to Joplin 11 years ago, and first really started going to Marian Days regularly, I finally caught, and that was something that was new for me. And so that was a true gift that I was given, you know, back, 11 years ago when I first started. Because the only time I came before that was one time when I was stationed in Springfield, and I came over to eat with some people, you know, with some parishioners from Springfield. And that was it. Other than that, I had never been. And now this will be my 12th Marian Day, if you will. Okay, so that's not much in the string of 40, but it's still going to be good. So if we got 1 minute real fast. So what are you looking forward to? The most favorite thing for Marian Days? My
favorite thing? I think it's just all the people attending Mass. That's what I'm looking for. Especially for me, as a priest, confession. People come for confession. That's my favorite thing.
It's again time for Catholics to renew themselves spiritually. How about you, Bernie?
Well, time for friends and families.
Okay. Cool. Well, we've been talking with two of the priests from the Congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer there in Carthage. We're getting ready for the 40th anniversary of our annual Marian Days there. So we are going to be right back after this Mercy Minute, and we're going to give you a little bit of information for the coming weekend of where you might go and what you might do if you're interested in catching those Marian Days. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
The SANE program, or Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner program, is a program established to provide a coordinated, specialized care to patients or women or men who've been the victim of sexual assault.
The SANE program is really designed to be a collaborative community response to sexual assault.
It's really important to make sure that it's not just the report or the forensic, but they get all of the testing that might be needed for their health.
It's also important to know that you don't need to know if you want to press charges or not. We don't get law enforcement involved unless you request it.
I just want to express to the victim that it is never your fault. You always have the right to say no, and that it's your body. So if you say yes one time, it doesn't mean every time.
I think it's important that sexual assault victims remember they've been victims of a crime, and crime victims do not pay for those services.
Well, thank you for joining us again for another another Sunday morning with Faith in Our Hometown. Again, my guests this week have been two of my Vietnamese priest brothers from the Congregation of the Mother of the Redeemer over in Carthage, and they're hosting this coming weekend the 40th annual Marian Days. If you've never had a chance to be there, we encourage you to go and just see what the blessings that another culture has brought into our own culture. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. What you can do if you're interested in food from another culture, or just even good, fair food, if you will, you can come. The booths will open for food on Wednesday night, and they're usually open to midnight every night. You can find all kinds of Vietnamese delicacies, things that you wouldn't normally typically find in, even most of our Asian restaurants here, because it's just food that's pretty specific to the Vietnamese culture. But so the food booths and everything are open from like 6 in the morning until midnight. There's even a couple that are probably open 24 hours a day, because basically the place doesn't shut down much. If you're interested in seeing the prayer, again, just go and ask what's going on from one of the CRMs on the ground. They're there. They'll be walking around in their outfits, so you'll be able to see them. We just want to invite you to Marian Days. Again, this is just one aspect of faith and culture, and faith here in our hometown. Join us again next week.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.